We are part of the Fired Up Sports Network of shows. Please check out other Fired Up Sports Network podcasts like the P-Lot Pod, Water Cooler Talk, Bell Smashers, Philly Sports Love and Pain, Drunk on Broad, Beer Battered Sports, and the Fired Up Sports Show, which are available on all major podcasting hosting sites and social media. Also, check out Mark Ramos' Roundup on firedupsports.com, which breaks down the happenings going on with all your favorite local teams.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions.
Swinging a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Flyers are going to win the Stanley Cup. The Flyers win the Stanley Cup for the lead. Yes!
Iverson, wow, what a fake off Daniels as he broke his ankles and got all the way to the cup.
Oh, well, good morning, Eric. I just realized as this was rolling, as I'm hitting all the buttons, this is episode 300.
Oh, wow.
This is
There we go.
it's another century mark for the show, but
Right.
it's a, you and I were talking a little bit before the show. Like this is a really good sports window. We're going to be all, talking all things Phils, but like, you had the actual start of college football yesterday. I saw Shefty tweet out that this is the last weekend without football until 2026. It's you're going to see the baseball, the games, while they're still playing regular season games, the games feel a little bit more meaningful. Just a good window to we'll be on here talking all things Phillies this morning. The last couple weeks with this team, Eric, has been, I think the only way to describe it is a roller coaster. It has literally been some really good highs, and then you have some really, really low lows. Talk to me about we'll also have to touch on, since we were on last time. The injury news with Zach Wheeler. With the confirmation of the second surgery, the news that he'll be out. The timeline is like 6 to 8 months. Talk to me about where you are with the squad right now.
I'm still in a really good spot with them, I think. The Wheeler news is obviously devastating because, he's your workhorse, he's your ace, but having Christopher Sanchez step up the last couple of years like he has, kind of, to me, still really instills a lot of confidence in this rotation. Plus, we've seen Ranger pitching much better than he did. He had that little spout at the end of July where it was like, are we starting to see Ranger fall off again here? But he's looked good. I know his start the other night gave up a lot of hits, but he was bending, but he didn't really break. Nola, his first outing was really bad. His first inning in that series against this series, I guess it was Thursday night.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do we have going on here? I think he gave up 3 runs and 37 pitches in the first inning, but then he settled in after that. So between that and Luzardo's pitching well, so the rotation, I think we're still in a good spot. Obviously, losing Wheeler hurts a lot, but luckily there's kind of enough depth and other pieces there that I think still, if you put this rotation on paper against a lot of other potential playoff contenders, this rotation still is at the top or near the top, if not at the top. The bullpen has, that Mets series, I feel like was an outlier with a lot of things because there is nothing that the Phillies could do right, and there was nothing that the Mets could do wrong.
Yeah.
So, the bullpen looked bad. The offense looked bad. You got a bad outing from Sanchez. It was just like every bad thing that could have possibly happened for the Phillies happened in what was probably one of the most important series in the last month or so. But seeing them bounce back and seeing them take care of business against another division rival in the Braves. Now, I know the Braves are not the Braves that they were the last few years, but seeing them take care of business and taking, the first 3 of the series, I think is huge to see what this team is kind of made of after that, really bad series up in New York. So I'm still in a good spot with this team. And we get the Mets. They get the Mets again for a 4-game series here at home.
Yeah.
I think that might, if they can take care of business there, my confidence level will go through the roof.
Yeah, I think you when you look at that specific, like, to kind of work backwards, that Mets series was, I mean, they were non-competitive for 2 of those games. And the one that they end up losing 6-5 on the walk-off, you kind of felt like maybe there's something there, right? Maybe there's a way to, like, flip that series so that it doesn't, you're losing essentially 1 game, not 3. And then you've got Duran that comes in, and he's given up, what, 3, and you look at the way that they did it without any kind of power numbers, right? They did it with kind of like singles, and to me, that, again, that, like, so many outliers in that series, to then, and then you face the young kid on on the series ender, and you get shut out. And I think having that happen, and then Thursday night happens. Thursday night was a good, like, it was a good palate cleanse.
Needed that.
I mean, you really did. On top, like, you needed all of the power numbers. You needed, seemed like everybody and their mom got a hit. And then you had, and we can kind of wax poetically on the night that Schwarber has. But I look at that and I go, I feel a lot better. Like, I feel like and then when you see, not only do you get that game on Thursday night, but then on Friday night you win a close game 2-1, right? You have the 1-1 game last night that goes into extra innings. You get Strom that comes in and gives up the run in the 10th, and then the way that they came back and won in the bottom of the 10th, where you work the counts, you get on base, you get Castillo that gets hit, right? You end up getting the bases loaded, and then, I mean, Brandon Marsh needs to send Trey Turner a huge gift basket, um, based on the way that at bat worked. But then Trey Turner comes up and kind of does what he's been doing all year long, which is, he's battling Freeman for that batting title, has looked the part. And I think the more impressive thing for me from him last night was him in the field.
Mhm.
He was better than I've seen him in a while.
Yeah, I don't think enough is actually being said about how good he's been this year, both from an offensive standpoint and from a really nicely improved defensive standpoint.
Yeah.
I know coming into the season, one of the big knocks on him was the inconsistency at the plate, and he was not, and he wasn't. Just wasn't a good defensive shortstop. But this year, I don't know what he did differently. I don't know. He's been in the league for a long time, so I don't know what you
Mm-hmm.
could really do differently. But he's improved by a lot of the defensive metrics. I know he had a bad throw or something the other night, but overall, he's been much better. And I think seeing that at the top of the lineup, setting the table for Schwarber and for Harper, and JT's been having a really good couple months stretch here. So by him setting the table, getting on base, and making things happen has really done a lot for this lineup.
And to kind of move off of that point too, like, or not to move off it, right? But to keep talking about it, we've constantly said for most of the season that, like, you're going to get where you're going to get where this when you get the performance from the guys that you've already paid. But the guys down the lineup is where it's going to be most important, because once the playoffs start, if teams can get through the first 3 guys, if Marsh and Castellanos and Real Muto and Stott, if those guys aren't having, and I'm not going to say like if they're not playing, they don't have to play elite level, but if they are not, if they're having like non-competitive at bats, it becomes really easy to kind of navigate this lineup. Like if you can get through those first three guys, you can kind of cherry pick and choose how you're going to get your outs. You saw it a little bit last night with that at bat with Marsh in the 10th that like it, he swung like I'm looking at it going, just wait for him to throw you a strike. Like you're up with the bases loaded with one out. The only thing you have to do is put the ball in play. If you put the ball in play, fine, right? And I think in that one at bat, I can't remember the guy who's pitching for the young kid, right?
Mhm.
And looked impressive, really good stuff. But he threw one pitch in the zone for that entire at bat, and you struck out swinging, and or not swinging, you struck out looking on a pitch that based on the broadcast, essentially he missed, but it ended up being a strike.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the bottom of the lineup, really, I mean, take out the Mets series, but, Seattle, Washington, and now this Brave series, you're getting production from a lot of the guys
Right.
at that bottom part of the lineup. And even, how the whole outfield shaking out right now, kind of being a four-man outfield for three positions for four guys.
Yeah.
You're getting production from Stott. You're getting production from Marsh. Kepler has actually been a little bit better.
Yeah.
Bader's
I mean,
been
a guy that we
good.
gave a lot of crap for, right? A guy that we
Yeah,
kind of right around the trade deadline said like his days might be numbered.
yeah,
And
uh,
the way that Thompson has kind of like said like, hey, listen, when this becomes a playoff, that we're going to have to cherry pick. We're going to have to platoon guys. We're going to have to make
yeah,
sure that these guys that we're getting guys at bats in situations and getting, and they to their credit, there are a couple of veteran guys who have responded.
yeah. I mean, and that's really what you needed because, like you alluded to earlier, the Stars have been pretty much doing their jobs, right? But it was going to kind of be, to me, coming into the season, I really thought like Bryson Stott was such a big part of what this lineup is going to be. And I think the last time we talked, I was saying, where are we at with him? Because defensively, yeah, he's great, but at the plate, he was basically an automatic out.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, things have changed. So maybe we jinxed it a little bit for him. But
Well, I mean, listen, I will tell you, Eric, I'm looking at this and I'm looking at the stats from um from Baseball Savant, and listen, this was up until like the middle end of August, but hitting in the high 290s, right? His OBP is he's got 16 hits and 10 runs and 8 RBIs in 15 games.
yeah, he's
So
been
like,
producing.
and when you're getting that production at the back end of this lineup, right? You're getting better at bats from Marsh, right? You said Kepler, right? Kepler when he's playing, you're getting better at bats, and then talk to me about the addition of Harrison Bader, right? Because Harrison Bader has kind of moved into that Johan Rojas slot, but with significantly better production. Even though some
Yeah.
of his at bats they leave a little bit to be desired.
Yeah, the difference though is I think I saw a tweet the other day, like his OPS since joining the Phillies is north of 850. So like he's being productive when he's getting at bats.
Mm-hmm.
Although that last night he struck out for the first out of that of that important inning there, but it's going to happen, right? Bader, I think, he's producing exactly how we needed an addition for the trade deadline to produce, right? He's filling in defensively. You're not losing basically anything with him being in center field versus Rojas, right? But you're gaining so much more at the plate that it's exactly what we need because the Phillies were not going to go out and get a superstar, right? They didn't want to give up the prospect capital to do that. And as we said, you can't just keep piling in, 25 plus $1 million contracts onto this roster.
Yep.
So getting a guy like Bader, I think, at the time we're kind of like, we don't really know what he's going to be, because he's been basically a role player for a lot of his career, and he's stepping in and kind of being a little bit more than that right now. But the production's there, and I really like what we're seeing from him from a defensive standpoint too. So I think making that move gave Rob Thompson so much more flexibility, and now he's able to do this with the outfield, even though it's pissing off Castellanos and maybe Kepler a little bit. But like, that's what the team needed to kind of cross that threshold. You didn't need to add a Juan Soto, you didn't need to add an Aaron Judge, or not that they were available, but just saying like a guy of that caliber. To get this team to where it needs to be. But it just lengthens the lineup. It lengthens the depth. It ended up being a pretty good move.
Yeah, listen, and if those guys are in their feelings, then, that if they were producing the way that we thought they should or could, or they have done in the past, then there would be no conversation about a platoon.
Right.
So, I know that statistically Castellanos is having, not a great year. Has like these very short spurts of like you can see the window into the production. But I'm looking at Bader's stats since joining the Phillies, right? 67 at bats, 21 hits, 4 doubles, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, 7 walks, and he struck out 16 times, right? So he's batting .313.
Right.
Okay, great.
He's doing his job. Yeah.
That's exactly what you thought you would be doing, or you would be getting, if from a guy who's going to bat in the bottom third of your lineup, who is going to be a defensive replacement late in games. I think his addition gave the flexibility that you were just talking about. The phrase that I love that you use is, right, it lengthens that lineup, right? It makes the depth of that lineup so much better that maybe that is giving the other guys that are mixed in, right? Your Real Muto, your Castellanos, your Stott, your Marsh, just that one addition, in the same way that Duran gave to the, listen, on a completely different level, right? But the same way that Duran gave to the bullpen, right? Everybody has a role. Everybody knows their slot. Everybody knows when they're coming in. He has been, let's talk about him for a little bit. He has been as advertised. I know he's had, we were down there on floppy hat night with the kids, and he came in all excited. And he gives up the runs back to, he gives up the couple hits back to back, right? You get the thing with Real Muto where he throws it into the outfield. But for the most part, he's the guy that you can kind of just hand the ball to and never ever have to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, he was eventually going to give up a hit. He was going to give up runs. Yeah, what do you have? I think he had the first 3 games where it was like, this guy's untouchable, and he really still is. The stuff he has.
The first game he pitched, it was 4 pitches.
4 pitches, and I think 3 of them, or no, yeah, there was 4 splitters, all at 98 or above.
Crazy.
It's still, he's been with us now. He's been with the Phillies now for a month, and I'm still mesmerized. And I think every time I watch him pitch, I still make a comment about, how does someone throw a splitter that hard?
I mean, you heard a little bit on the broadcast last night. You heard Cole Hamels talking about it, right? And how important the change of speed is. And I think at one point they had asked him, like, should he slow the splitter down? And he's like, no, because no one's hitting that pitch if it's at 95 or if it's at 102. It's crazy. It's crazy that he can throw that pitch at that speed with that accuracy, the way that he can. It really is just incredible.
Yeah, and he's mixing in that knuckle curve. The first few games, he didn't show that knuckle curve at all. And now, he threw it last, and he threw it again. I forget exactly which game it was, but that, like, what a crazy speed difference from everything else that he throws, because I think that was hitting, like, a knuckle curve still hitting 86 is pretty impressive. But
still wild.
when you have a fastball that's sitting, averaging, let's say, around 102, a splitter that's averaging around 98, and then you can throw that to kind of keep a hitter off balance a little bit. It's a really good arsenal. The one thing that they made a comment about last night on the broadcast was they were saying, like, I think it was Kruk said something about people saying that Duran is a pitch to contact pitcher. He's like, how can anyone make contact with this? The strikeouts haven't really been there yet. He actually is not missing a ton of bats right now at this point. But it was a really funny point because I'm like, how are people making contact with this guy? Because a splitter with that velocity that just falls out of the zone. How do you even know? That's why these guys get paid the big bucks, I guess. But it's so impressive what he can do with the baseball.
Yeah, and like when you look at how they played post All-Star break, right? Because last year started really hot and then things kind of faded late.
Mm-hmm.
Last year at the All-Star break, they were 33 and 33, or post All-Star break at this point, 33 and 33.
Yep, they were 500.
Right.
Yeah.
This year they're 21 and 13. So playing at a 618 clip, which is a huge and that was going into that Mets series. But when you look at how this team is playing, just they're getting the momentum is kind of trending in the right direction. And I think it's going to be really important for them to get as close to Milwaukee as possible. If they can keep Milwaukee within earshot going into that series, there's not a team that is playing better than Milwaukee right now. But I look at that and I go, like, I just need it to be within earshot so that when it comes down to that series, that it's a playoff preview. Because I could really see something like that go down. But I think the more that you can put yourself, one, in a position to be that number 2 seed behind them, if not the number 1, I think getting the number 1 and number 2 is essential for them to have the most the potential for the most successful playoff run they can.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know people talk about the kind of layoff with the 1 or 2 seed where you're not playing. And I think baseball is a big I think it's the biggest momentum sport, right? In football, you want that bye. You want to give your guys that rest. Baseball, it's like if you come into the playoffs hot and then all of a sudden you take some time off. We've seen it with other teams, but I still think the value of being able to skip an entire series and not have to, and your pitchers all get extra rest. I think the value in there is still really big. And last year the Phillies came in and came out really flat. But then again, it was against the Mets, who they just seem to have no success against right now. But I think having the 1 or 2 seed is really important. This Milwaukee series coming up, I think that starts tomorrow, right? I think that's because it's Monday. They're off Tuesday, and then they play Wednesday and Thursday. So that's going to be a good preview, a good kind of litmus test to see where the Phillies are after playing a team like Atlanta, after having that bad series in New York. I think it's a good litmus test to kind of see, okay, how are they going to produce against a playoff contender?
Yeah, because you look at that, right? And when I talk about like the importance of that 2 seed and having those home games, right? You look at their last stretch at home, right? They've won 8 of 9 and 14 of 18 at home.
Yeah, they play so much better at home.
Just really, really well at home. So I think the more like having those first 2 games in a series be at home, especially coming off a break where you're going to be able to get guys rest, it's going to be a really good opportunity to kind of set this up the way that they want it. But they have to figure out a way to, and it's ironic, right? Because you get the opportunity to get their kind of self-situated, but then they've won 3 straight. The Mets lost, and now they're back up 6 again, right? So it's like it's so hard because like even when I'm having conversations at home, like because Lace will ask periodically, like she'll ask periodically like what's going on, and she'll go, why, like during the whole Met series, she's like, they suck. I was like, well, yeah, right now they suck. I was like, but I was like, it's so hard to explain because it's not like it's such a long season,
Right.
and there are with baseball, there are so many ebbs and flows to the season that like you almost have to have like that goldfish mentality of like, you know, all right, either that game's over, that series is over, flush it, and that's where I think Thursday came into just flush it, right? Just kind of get rid of it. And Kyle Schwarber, Kyle Schwarber just has a night for all nights. Does something more rare that I didn't even realize, more rare than a perfect game. You know, to be able to hit 4 home runs,
Four
but he's
homers.
the third person to do it this season,
Yeah, that's crazy. I know.
right? Like
Yeah, Nick Kurtz did it with the A's. Who else hit the 4 home runs? Did you
uh,
see it?
the guy from Arizona that got traded to Seattle, Suarez.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. Okay.
But 3 times in this season, but it's only happened 21 times in all
Ever.
of Major League Baseball history. So he's the fourth Philly to do it. There's the most recent one was Schmidt
Mm-hmm.
when he hit 4 in I think it was in Chicago.
I forgot. I saw it was 17 or not 1976. He was not playing during the American Revolution.
Right after
1970s.
he signed the Declaration of Independence and then hit
Yeah,
4 home runs.
and then went to go play some baseball.
But talk about Kyle Schwarber. Kyle Schwarber has a night of all nights, right? He has the 4 home runs, and just like somewhere I heard a stat, it's like over like 1,600 feet of distance traveled. I mean, some of them off the facade. So like he hits the one that's opposite field that like just gets a couple rows deep, but like
Yeah.
he is playing about as well as you could possibly play, especially for a guy who's betting on himself going into a contract. Talk about the night. Talk about seeing that and kind of like where that is moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think, so Bryce Harper is the face of the franchise, right? I think Kyle Schwarber is the most fun offensive player, and it's not even really particularly close. Just because any given night he could do something like that. I mean, the power he has, and just watching a ball that he smashes come off that bat is one of the most beautiful things I think in baseball. I think he is so important to this Phillies lineup. They have other guys, they have other pieces, but what he has brought since he's come here really means so much to this lineup. And I think a lot of the lineup goes with Schwarber. He did not have a good series up in New York. I think he might have been hitless actually.
I think it was over 11, 12.
It was bad. But obviously this things turned around on Thursday. But just what he can do in this lineup, like, and I think, like I said, the lineup kind of goes, ebbs and flows with Schwarber, and then
Really
going to the contract situation. It's not our money, so it's easy for us to say this, but if Schwarber is not back in Philadelphia, I think he will be.
Yeah.
But if he's not, think about what that does to this lineup, and then you're now looking at an offseason move where you have to, Dombrowski will have to do something to replace that bat, because you're not he's going to hit over 50 home runs this year, right? I mean, he's almost there's a pretty good chance he breaks Ryan Howard's record. Like you can't just replace that production. Plus, he gets on his batting average is fine for a power hitting guy. Remember, I think it was 2022 or 23 when he hit like 197, but still hit like 40 some home runs. Everyone's like, well, the average stinks, but at least now it's production, from basically every facet. The thing that helps the Phillies, I think, from a signing perspective and cost level, is the fact that he is really one dimensional, right? He's a DH, so I don't think he's going to get the $35 to $40 million a year contract. But if I'm the Phillies, what I think is offer him years, because he's only 32 or 33. Being a DH, he's going to be able to hit for power for probably another 3 or 4 years. Give him 4 or 5 and try to bring that annual average down a little bit. Give him the years, give him the security in that regard, and hopefully they can kind of make something work. But he's so important to this lineup.
I mean, and the one of the things that I've thought about, right, is that out of everybody in that lineup, it's very rare that you see him have a bad at bat. He sees the ball really well. He takes really good pitches. He's smart at the plate when he comes up, and he's not. He doesn't chase a whole lot, right? You see, even like as dynamic a hitter as Harper is, he chases pitches sometimes, right? You see pitches
Oh.
that he's way out in front of, out of the zone. It's not that Schwarber doesn't happen with him, but it's very rare. And you see the way that he is able to impact the lineup. And when I look at most valuable player, when you look at that from a player to team perspective, and you kind of go on an individual basis, he's by far and away, if you're looking at the guys that are candidates for MVP, the guy that is most important to his particular team. It's amazing to say this, but he is the most important guy to this team by a mile. And it's not even close. And to me, I love the idea that you're talking about like if you can figure out a way to extend the years where you can kind of stretch it out a little bit. Like if you can get him, I mean, I think 30 a year is kind of like the starting point. If you look at like, I'm trying to think who's a really expensive DH, like Stanton is it Stanton? Stanton is a guy who's a really, or is it? Yeah.
It's Stanton because he can't move it. He actually watching him in the field makes Kyle Schwarber look like Willie Mays. Like watching Stanton run the bases is painful. It's really he can still match the ball, but man, he is painful
like,
to watch.
He's your most not that he's the barometer, right? But he's your most expensive DH. I think that you're looking at something in the neighborhood of 30-ish a year, right? So, if you did, I don't know, like if you did like 3 at 100 and start there, maybe it's 4 and 110, maybe it's 4 and like it. I think that, and I heard Buster Olney talking about this a little bit over the course of the last week, right after this happens, and I look at that and I go, he's talking about that the likeliest of scenarios is that he's back because of the work that he does in the locker room, because they know how important he is in that locker room from a leadership standpoint. They know what he's brought to the young guys that are coming up, that are here, with the idea that there will be other young guys coming up in the next couple of years, and how important it will be to have a guy like that in the locker room. But then also from what he brings from, and I can put air quotes, from an on-field perspective, in terms of what he brings to your lineup. You take him out of this lineup is a lot of swing and miss. It's a lot of all or nothing. And I think when you look at what he can do on any night, you have to pay the man.
Yeah, I think it's the most important move of the offseason. Obviously, now the way JT's playing, I think it's maybe because there's no one else really ready to go. So I think
there's not anyone ready to go. I got a name for you though. This is the guy I'm going to bring up. Adley Rutschman.
I saw that.
With the way, and I say that because they're talking about they obviously give the extension to the young prospect. I heard a very interesting scenario that made me think like maybe that's something that I heard them talking about Seattle, and that they would do a platoon between Rutschman and Cal Raleigh and just alternate between catching and DH and kind of extend both of their careers.
Yeah. The positive to Rutschman is age, right? He's so much younger, JT, and the amount of innings JT has behind the plate. It's scary because how long can he stay productive just with the wear and tear he's putting on himself.
Right.
But the drop in production from Rutschman scared me a little bit. But then again, I'm also wondering what is going on with Baltimore's like player development side of
Right.
things, because a couple of years ago they were like the hot team. Like they were like, oh, there's all these young guys coming up, they're all producing. Are any of like I don't think any of them really are like Gunnar Henderson, maybe a little bit, but like there's so many guys that are in Baltimore now who I think are underperforming. So maybe a change of scenery for Rutschman is all he needs
Right.
to get going again. But that it was a name I saw out there, and it would be an interesting move. It's just I would have to like, what do the Phillies see? Do they think, hey, yeah, he's dropped off, but is it something we can work with? And there probably is. I mean, the guy was so good to just kind of fall off the face of the earth. So
yeah, and just the thought, right? Because I know that, and listen, there's a million things that are going to happen between now and when the off season happens, but but definitely as as we start to kind of project forward, the way that they're going to construct this team moving forward, at some point, I think they're going to have to look to the past to realize that like we can't hold on to everybody.
Right.
I know like you're going to have the Castellanos contract come off the books in the not too distant future, right? I think to me, the biggest place where they can make the biggest impact, right, is to make sure you re-sign Kyle Schwarber and then what you do in the outfield.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, that outfield could be completely reworked. And that could or could not include Justin Crawford, right? That could or could not include guys from that. He's really the only guy within your organization. But again, I think we're getting there again. There's a lot that has to happen, but I think the idea that you need to get more out of your corner outfielders than you're getting right now, and they're kind of just getting by.
Especially from a power perspective, there's not really much at all. While we were talking earlier, I pulled up Nick Castellanos' stats here. So in the month of August, he has walked a grand total of 4 times, and I think it took him to like August 16th to get his first one. He's
never met a pitch he didn't like.
No, I really genuinely think, and I joke around about this with people, I think like in the on deck circle, he's like, I'm swinging first pitch. Don't care where it is. Like, I'm swinging. I don't care. His on base percentage in August is 228. He's hitting 184. And he's got 2 home runs. That's actually more than I thought it was. But like he is and the callousness he has with like being pulled for a defensive replacement. It's like, dude, you're lucky you're getting in, because you could argue that there's 3 better outfielders in every capacity right now on this roster. You're lucky you're getting to start a game. Like Kepler's looked a little bit better, and he's way better defensively. Yeah. Bader, we've already talked about. And then Marsh, like every guy there is better defensively than Castellanos, and every guy is having a better, more production post All-Star break than Castellanos. So it's like, dude, you better put your money where your mouth is and start hitting the ball a little bit, because that's really the only value you're here for. He has become like, and I was team Nick really up until probably June this year or so. Yep. Like I'm like, he's frustrating, he's streaky, but when he gets hot, he gets hot, right? But that just really hasn't happened, and it's just like he just kind of seems like a burden on this team at this point. It's like I really wish they would have signed Schwarber for 5 years and Casty for 4, and then this would be a situation that would kind of just be fixing itself this offseason. But alas, that's not the case. Sorry, I just had to go off on a little rant there because he has been the most frustrating player on this team, and I don't think it's particularly close.
No, I would like. Yeah, I saw someone last night with the screen grab of him after he scores the game-winning run on a walk-off hit, and he could not have looked more disinterested.
He's weird like that, so I'm not really surprised there. But
it's very on brand for him.
Yes,
to be like, all right. What's the after game concert? right? Like what like it. I don't know. It's just it really is frustrating because it's like on some level you want to say like, hey, dude, like look in the mirror. If you were playing better, we wouldn't be taking you out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he does have these glimpses, right? He has the play. Oh God, I can't remember what game it was where he it's a fly ball.
Was it the Matt Olson one?
Yes, where he throws him, makes a really great throw on like. But then you also have other plays where he looks like he's running with cinder blocks, and
Yeah.
he can't get to the ball in the gap. And you know, like the ball that Olsen hits last night to score. Whoever the guy was, that hit the
Yeah. I
double
forget who
ahead of
that was.
him,
Yeah.
he just can't get to it.
Yeah. His range is
And
off. Going back to that Olsen throw. So it
yeah,
was a good throw, but did you watch Olsen tagging up? Like it looked like he was just like taking a Sunday stroll down to home plate. I'm like,
yeah,
I couldn't actually. So this is, but it looks like I might have been able to throw him out at that point. I'm obviously exaggerating. I could not throw out a major league runner, but that's how slow it looked like it was taking for him to get down that third baseline. Like
oh god,
I'm like, wow, that was insane. I'm like, he's got him here, right? Like he could make a bad throw, and I think he'd still have him. But he
yeah,
did have a good throw. I'll give him that.
yeah. But like, but I get it. Like he seems disinterested. It seems like it's. I can't say that it's better, but he seems like indifferent. Like he seems
Mhm.
like it's like yeah. And I'm like, that's not necessarily like that's not what I'm looking for. I'm not like when you see and good on Rob Thompson for saying like, hey, listen, we are going to have to go right for right, left for left when these games come around in the playoffs. So we're just going to start doing it now. So get used to it because this is the
Mhm.
stuff that's going to happen. And it seems like the other players have responded, right? You were mentioned earlier, right? So like the production that you're getting from Bader and from Marsh and from Kepler has all kind of like there's an uptick in the production from all of them. Cassie just seems like he's just I'm going to do me, right? And that's who he has been since he showed up.
Mhm.
But this year in particular, you see the drop off in production. Um, I think if they get even a sniff of an opportunity to potentially move on from him this summer or this winter, with with teams seeing the opportunity for an expiring contract, I think that that's something that they explore in a very expeditious way. um, Speaking of right, like and base running, talk about the Bohm situation
Inability to score from any base ever.
with and listen, it's bad when like my family who only watches sports because I watch sports
Uh-huh.
and they're watching and I got my son with me and he's gotten better at paying attention to certain parts of the game. And we're looking at it and I'm going, he goes, Dad, shouldn't he have scored? Like, shouldn't he be running? And I'm going, should, but because he runs like a drunk giraffe, he
Yeah.
just can't score from any base. Like that opportunity late in the game against the Mets where he had two opportunities to score from third and doesn't.
It's actually comical at this point because every time I see him running hard into third base, I'm like, well, he's not going. Like it, it, and I feel like it's happened so much over the last couple games because it's really become like pretty obvious that he can't score unless he's standing on third base already and the ball gets out of the infield. Like even a sac fly, I'm not 100% sure
What?
he's scoring on a sac fly. It's really it's almost comical. Like I said, like he actually does somehow lengthen this lineup a little bit, and I don't really know how because to me, he's basically like a two-tool player. He can get on base at like a decent clip, and he's improved defensively. Like he's like a moderate two-tool player. He, for being a 6'5" or 6'6" guy, has like zero power, zero speed. Like it's he's not a bad baseball player, but there's just like I feel like there's so much more that he could be better at,
Right.
and he's just like not. Again, he's not like Cassidy right now is the he's kind of the guy getting all my direct rage because of just like how unproductive he's been. And Bohm we're getting like a little bit of production out of, but there are just like there should be so much more there. And I think he's another one, once his arbitration years are over, I think that's one of those ones. Thank you, Alec, for your time and service, but like we're gonna figure something else out here.
Yeah, especially with and something I want to talk about pitching before we
Yeah,
jump out of here, but also want to talk about some of the young kids.
yeah, absolutely.
Because when you look at there has been a lot of fluctuation in the in terms of the pitching staff, right? Obviously, we talked about earlier, right? You lose Wheeler for the foreseeable future for 6 to 8 months, so I'm sure he's probably not going to start the season with the team next year, right? He'll still be
Right.
either recovering or ramping up from that the second surgery, which is obviously significantly more invasive.
Right.
When you look at the way that they've kind of adjusted their rotation, you're getting bits and pieces, right? You're still getting really good production from Christopher Sanchez. You're getting production from Ranger Suarez. You're getting production, from guys in the starting lineup. Any concern that it's heavy left-handed?
A
With
little
the
bit.
exception of Aaron Nola.
Yeah, a little bit. Because like there's certain teams, like obviously you have to look at matchups, right? But like certain teams are gonna have better average against or OPS against lefties. And if you throw out 3 lefties in a situation like that, you're at a disadvantage.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a concern, but to me, if you're structuring like I'm assuming you're referencing like a playoff rotation, right? Of three lefties going in. I think you have to put Nola in there just to get a righty. And then what you could do if there's not a lot of faith in Nola, then you could maybe do a piggyback there and either start Nola, get them putting lefties into their lineup, and then by the 4th or 5th inning you put in Luzardo or Ranger, whoever you're not using the rest of it. There's a lot of different ways that they can move it around, but I think you have to have one righty. And right now, I would say my Nola has been shaky, right? His last 2 outings have been quality starts. So while I'm not expecting him to go out and in a postseason game pitch 7 shutout innings, I trust him enough right now to go out there, pitch 6 innings, give up 2-3 runs and give the offense a chance to kind of stay in it. Obviously, I have way more faith in Sanchez. Probably more faith in Ranger right now.
Right.
So it's, but I think you have to have a right-hander in there. And I would take Nola over Taijuan Walker, even though Walker's been better this year. I still don't really trust his stuff in big spots.
Yeah, I think if I'm looking at it, right, if like we know that they've kind of maneuvered playoff series in the past to be able to get Aaron Nola to get a start on the road. So I could see a scenario, right, where 2 of those 3 lefties start at home. Nola starts game 3 to break it up, and then you go back to one of them in game 4. I see, and then I really do like how the back end of the rotation has really kind of like everything has kind of settled, right? You've gotten Alvarado back off of suspension. We know that he's not going to be available in the playoffs, but seeing how everybody's roles have kind of settled, right? You're seeing really good production from Tanner Banks, from Matt Strahm. Kirkring has been reliable. Anything of note in the back end of the bullpen as we're kind of going, as we're arcing towards a playoff?
No, I think you just really touched on a point that I think it has really been probably the most important part of the bullpen this season, and that's Tanner Banks. With Alvarado going out and him having to kind of step up as a maybe not late inning lefty, but as a more I swear every game I watch Tanner and I watch almost every game, Tanner Banks is pitching. Like the guy has just been a workhorse and he's been super productive too. So I think assuming he can keep going the way he is, that's going to be huge heading into the postseason when we lose Alvarado and not be able to use his arm out of the bullpen. But also David Robertson, I think, is turning out to be a really good signing. He's pitched really well. So I have pretty good faith in the back end of this bullpen, really, because I think there's 4 or 5 guys that we can say we trust pretty. Duran, obviously, I trust Banks. Kirkering, I know Strahm, right? Strahm and Kirkering have given up a couple runs here and there, but I still think overall, like they've pitched in big spots before. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
And David Robertson, I mean, there's like like I said, 4.5 guys I think that I would trust. In a postseason series, and you're going to need at least that because of how short of a leash starters get in a playoff game.
Yeah, and just as you were talking, I pulled up, right. Tanner Banks has played in 59 games.
Yeah,
that leads this pitching staff in appearances. So, a very unsung role, but he kind of fits the bill in terms of and that was kind of like an under the radar move at the trade deadline last year. Didn't give up a ton to pick him up, but has really kind of stuck around and been like really productive. Young guys, I see a lot of, particularly in the Met series, right? But you see a lot of young guys, specifically pitchers, getting brought up this time of year. Is there any concern that the elite of the elite Phillies prospects are nowhere to be found?
I wouldn't say concern yet. I think next year, if we still see this kind of inconsistency from Andrew Painter, there might be some bells that start going off. But for really before he had the Tommy John surgery, I think the most innings he ever I don't think he ever threw even over 100 innings in a minor league season, or maybe it was like right at 100. So and then taking 2 years off. I know, like, from a health perspective, he's fine, right? He's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think just being that young, not having a ton of professional experience, like, there's going to be some rust for him to kind of shake off still. And I'm hoping that's what this year is. He also never pitched in Lehigh Valley before. So, he pitched in Reading, then he got hurt in that spring training. So it's also kind of a big adjustment there. So I'm not concerned yet. Is it a little frustrating? I think so, just because what we've been told about Andrew Painter, and originally the timeline was like July or August.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's not happening. I don't think at this point it's going to happen. Nor do I think it should happen, really, because I don't think there's a point in bringing a guy up and just seeing what he does for him to get rocked when you have enough other depth for pitching there. So that's not. I'm not concerned yet, but I think. Let's see how next year transpires, and maybe we see him come up, April or May or June next season.
Yeah, I don't know, Eric. For some reason, I don't know if I get this feeling like I know that there's some conversations around like AAA being a little bit mundane, and maybe there's he's kind of like settled, and that there need like for a guy who needs to pitch at the maybe that jump to the elite level of your sport kind of provides that next challenge. I don't know. And then I know that we've talked in the past, right? The intrigue around young guys that have kind of jumped into a playoff race, right? What we saw from like a guy like David Price, I know like what the Braves did with Spencer Strider, what you see the Mets doing with a couple of their young pitching prospects. The thought of adding another hard throwing arm is just really exciting. So I think for me, where I see your perspective, there's still some intrigue for me to
Mhm.
be able to be like, what would that be like to be able to add a guy that throws the way that he does with the talent that he has, to be able to add that late at a point in time where teams can't really get a book on him.
Yeah, I mean, it is intriguing. Like, I mean, I would love to see it, honestly. I'm just trying to think like how cautious they seem to be with prospects.
Yeah.
And that's
And
my
that's my
kind of
that
a lot of
that's also
thinking.
my fear moving forward, right? With
Yeah,
Andrew Painter, with Aiden Miller, with Justin Crawford.
Justin Crawford. Yeah, yeah. There's definitely a lot of exciting stuff going on down there. Aiden Miller has been on a tear in August. He has just been like
Playing really well.
insane. Crawford has just hit consistently like 320, 330. Like he's been hitting the ball well. How it translates to the majors, I don't know, but I think at some point you have to see, right? So there is a lot of intrigue there, especially like in the top part of the farm system right now. But yeah, I'm curious to see if any of them would be considered for a September call up. Just knowing how this front office runs, I think it's going to be a boring September 1st roster expansion. I think we're going to see Garrett Stubbs to get another catcher in there. I think we see another bullpen arm, and I think we see another bench bat. And I don't think they're bringing up Justin Crawford to be a bench bat, right? They're going to want him to get time. So I unfortunately think we're going to see, I bet Otto. It's probably going to be Otto Camp. So, but I'm telling myself this in the hopes that maybe I'm wrong,
Yeah.
and maybe they'll surprise me. But I don't know. What do you think? Like the way this front office
You're,
goes, I think we're
Eric,
looking at like
the hard
Maxwell's
part
law.
is that I'm listening to you. You're not wrong. We like
You want me to be wrong, but
I want you want you to be wrong
yeah,
selfishly
I
because I
want me to
want to
be.
be able
I
to see
want me
these
to be
guys.
wrong. Yeah, me too.
And I think there's a lot of the fan base that is excited, that has heard about these guys for such an extended period of time, that they're like, what are we waiting for? One, and two, if they're not able to be productive at the level that they are right now, then why are we holding on to them? Like, and like, that's where, like, at the trade deadline, we're holding on to these guys. These guys are untouchable. We're not moving them. Oh, wait, but we're also not bringing them up because they're not ready. Like, it's just, at some point, you want to just see if they can or they can't. And if they can't, right? Because we've seen the number of prospects that have been in this untouchable role, and then, right, like, and Sixto Sanchez is like the guy that comes to mind, right? Because he was the untouchable for forever, right?
Mhm.
He was the, in your top pitching prospect for forever, right? And then the Real Muto trade comes on, and he's the centerpiece of that trade, of that pool of prospects going back to the Marlins, right? And I don't even know, I don't even know if he's still in baseball right now.
I'm
Last
not
I
sure.
saw, he looked like your beer league softball pitcher.
Yeah, he put on some weight during an injury stint there. Yeah.
Yeah, so when I right, you're going to have the series against the Brewers coming up, right? The Brewers are sitting 6 games north of you, right? They're at 85 and 52, where the Phillies are at 79 and 57, right? So there's a little bit of distance, but if they can close the gap for that coming up, right, and then the wild card series, right, unless the Mets go in the tank and the Reds get really hot simultaneously, right? The Reds are 5 games back of the Mets. It seems like the playoffs have kind of like the team, those six, the group of 6 teams that are going to be part of the playoffs have kind of separated themselves.
Yeah.
I would love an opportunity to see the Reds are an exciting team. The Reds are a team that I feel like, if they got into the playoffs, they could make a little bit of noise. Like, I'm looking at the way that it's matched up now, and like the Phillies and Brewers would have that first round off, right? And the Dodgers would match up with the Mets. But if the Dodgers matched up with the Reds, I think the Reds could give the Dodgers a lot of problems. Padres are also a team that are, the additions that they made and the way, they lose Bogarts for the season
Yeah.
with the injury. And then the Cubs. The Cubs are the it seems like all of the top teams are in the NL. So it seems like the
Yeah.
NL is a really good battle, where in the AL there's a little bit to be desired.
Yeah, I agree. It would actually be really nice if we got a Dodgers-Mets matchup if the Phillies had that first round bye, because then one of those teams is going to be out. So
Yeah,
that would be kind of nice to see.
I love it. Anything on the way out before we check out?
Let's get a 4-game sweep today.
Yeah, get out the brooms, right?
Jesus,
Finish
Luzardo.
this one off. Sunday night baseball. If you're going down there, you're going to get a sustainable Phillies hat, courtesy of PGW. It's another one to add to the addition to the crew. But it's but yeah, you've got an opportunity to be able to get, to close it out and really kind of put a stamp on the, what was a really awful series against the Mets, and to be able to come back and take 4 straight from the Braves going into this series with Milwaukee, really important on the way out. So,
yep.
Yeah, it's going to get chilly. Games are going to get more important. It's going to be, I feel like that we're kind of arcing towards a really, really fun time. So, yeah, man, on the way out, go Phils.
Go Phils.
Hey, listen to this guy. Tell me how you're feeling here. You're screaming.
I am stoked, baby.
You're screaming like it's still the game going on.
We're talking about the fightings here. The fightings. Said.
Said.
The swing of the miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008